How's it going, everyone? Marco Moreno here, and today I'm gonna talk about a common misconception regarding a fight between the famous Chuck Norris and the champion of the Gracie family, Rickson Gracie. There are a bunch of videos and articles that describe a sparring match between Chuck Norris and Rickson Gracie. And the video shows Chuck Norris fighting with Rickson. Rickson takes Chuck Norris to the ground, and in like a minute, he chokes out Chuck Norris. And the common misconception is that is a fight between Chuck Norris and Rickson Gracie. But the truth is, the guy in the video is not really Chuck Norris. Is Chuck Norris black belt. Now, I can see the confusion because the video is an old video from the 80s, 1988 to be precise. And it's of course grainy and pixely, it's not high definition 4K like the videos of today. And it starts with the actual Chuck Norris making a presentation of all the members of the Gracie family. He invited them to one of his karate conventions in Las Vegas to do a seminar for his organization. So the video starts with Chuck Norris talking about the Gracies. Actually, it's really impressive how he knows all the names. You can tell that he has a lot of respect for the Gracies. And then the video cuts to his black belt squaring off against Rickson Gracie. And this black belt actually looks a little bit like Chuck Norris. He's blonde, has some of the same features, but if you look closely, that is not Chuck Norris. They call one of his black belts to do a sparring demonstration with Rickson Gracie. If you dig deep, you'll find out articles that actually report that the guy in the video is a Chuck Norris black belt and not Chuck Norris. So all those articles that claim they have footage of Rickson Gracie choking out Chuck Norris, they're just inaccurate. They are either making an honest mistake or they are just using the headline as a clickbait for people who don't know the true story. Now, did Rickson Gracie choke out Chuck Norris? The real Chuck Norris? And the answer is yes, but not in that video. There is an interview of Chuck Norris talking about going to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and training at different martial arts schools. And people kept telling him about the Gracies, and he went and found the Gracies. And on the video, Chuck Norris describes how he actually got to spar Rickson Gracie, and Rickson Gracie pretty much toyed with him. In his own words, Chuck Norris said,
Anyway, I got on the ground with Rickson Gracie, and it's like I'd never had a lesson in my life. He played with me, and then I worked out with Hoist for a while.
So presumably, in those training sessions, Rickson did submit Chuck Norris. Not only that, but Chuck Norris also tells the story that Helio Gracie asked him to go on the mount and to punch him. All of a sudden, the next thing he remembers is waking up and Helio Gracie apologizing because he choked him out.
I said, Mr. Gracie, I'm not going to punch you. He said, no, punch me. So I brought my hand back. That's the last thing I remember. Next thing I know, I'm waking up from being choked unconscious. My throat, I could hardly swallow. And he said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it so hard. But he says, I want you to stay here. He says, you got great potential. I can make you a great jiu-jitsu person.
After that event, Helio Gracie invited him to stay in Brazil and to train Jiu-Jitsu, but he had to go back to America because he had to do movies. But he did find Rickson Gracie and the Machado, and he started training with them.
I went back to LA and I started training with Rickson Gracie, who had a school in Los Angeles, and I started training with the Machado brothers, who are the cousins of the Gracies, and I've been with them now for 28 years.
There is another misconception, which is that Chuck Norris brought the Gracies to the US. And the video describes that Chuck Norris invited the Gracies in 1988 to give a seminar for his organization. Chuck Norris is the head of Tang Soo Do karate organization, and he had a big meeting in Las Vegas, and the video said that because Chuck Norris knew of the Gracies, he invited them from Brazil and brought them here, and in a way that was the beginning of the success of the Gracies in the US, and that Chuck Norris was responsible for bringing the Gracies to America. And the truth is, in 1988, some Gracies were already teaching Jiu-Jitsu in America. Rickson Gracie started teaching Jiu-Jitsu in his garage in 1979. By 1988, he already had a successful school in California, and the same is for his cousins, the Machado brothers. The rest of the family started migrating to the United States. So Chuck Norris really did not bring the Gracies to America. Some Gracies were already here, and he did invite the Gracies to teach a seminar at his convention, and that is the video we are all talking about. So the timeline would be like this. In the early 80s, Chuck Norris went to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro to be specific. He found the Gracies. He sparred with Rickson. Rickson submitted him a bunch of times, same as Helio Gracie. Chuck Norris was really impressed, came back to America, and actually started training with Rickson Gracie and the Machado brothers. Chuck Norris describes this in this interview. And then in late 80s, 1988, he had his big convention, and he invited the Gracies to give a seminar at this convention. And that's the video we are all watching. In this convention, they called one of his black belts. Of course, they didn't call Chuck Norris because Chuck Norris already knew what the outcome was going to be sparring with Rickson. So as the Gracies were used to challenges matches, they invite one of Chuck Norris' black belts to spar with Rickson, and that is the fight we're all watching. Also, Chuck Norris did not bring the Gracies to the US in the late 1980s. The Gracies were already here. And finally, I will say how Chuck Norris was so respectful and really so impressed that he actually started training Jiu-Jitsu, and he got a black belt in Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by the Machado brothers. And now every black belt under Chuck Norris organization must know the basics of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And to finish the video, just a quick story. They say that when they tied the black belt around Chuck Norris' waist, the black belt gave a speech and said that it was honored to have received a Chuck Norris. Sorry guys, I couldn't help it. And for those interested in mastering Jiu-Jitsu, stop trying to learn random techniques in a disorganized way. You're making it harder than it should be. Check out Mastery Jiu-Jitsu Online, where we have a comprehensive curriculum that will help you learn Jiu-Jitsu from zero to mastery in a systematic way. We have free sample lessons and special discounts. Mastery Jiu-Jitsu Online. Check it out.